robot alchemy, androids, cyborgs, and the magic of artificial life. Ladies and gentlemen, from wherever you are listening to in the world, please put your hands together for my guest on today's show, Tex Mars. Thank you, Tex, for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Bruce. It's great to be with you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, let's get right into it. Let's talk about some of your newest books, beginning with Robot Alchemy. Now, Mr. Mars, the global elite, as you know, are actually patenting technology to help them be immortal, almost like that popular animated show Futurama, that cartoon. You know, they have Richard Nixon's head, alive in the future. And but with all seriousness, as an assistant professor of aerospace studies, Utah American Defense Policy, your main area of focus was strategic weapons systems. Now, this was at the University of Austin, Texas, from 1977 to 82. But please tell us about your time as a teacher and about your time as a career United States Air Force officer, where you commanded communications, electronics, and engineering units. Obviously, we see DARPA building Terminator-like robots and military mechanical dogs, like in Ray Bradbury's book Fahrenheit 451. Tell us about your book to begin, though.
Well, I spent over 20 years in the Air Force as an officer, and it's interesting. I was always in operational units, meaning we were ready to fight war wherever we were. I was in tactical air command overseas, and but I'm of course, was associated with many officers. I remember one had been with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission with the, nuclear bombs, you might say.
Right.
And he told me quite a bit about what he did. I had another one who was with a test group, and they basically tested windshields and aircraft that are in danger of hitting birds and being downed. So I've met a lot of people like that, but basically my research has been the book research. I've gone around. I've seen things. I was as far as robots go. Mm-hmm. I wrote the first book ever on personal robots back in 1985. It's entitled The Personal Robot Book.
Wow.
It was the main selection of the Computer Book Club and the Electronics Book Club. I also wrote the Great Robot Book, and I wrote the first book ever on careers with robots. In fact, that was the title of it, Careers with Robots. So you'll see a lot of my older books on robots in libraries today. But this new book is Robot Alchemy. I began to write it just to sort of give people a history and a look at robots. But as I researched, and I began to call a lot of friends at DARPA, mm-hmm. at various research facilities that I've known for many years. Some of them couldn't tell me what they were doing, others did. But I began to get a picture of robots that was far different than back in the 1980s when I was deep into it. I remember I was at the first International Personal Robot Convention in Albuquerque. Isaac Asimov spoke there. And it was very, very interesting, and I saw all the personal robots they had. But now the military is the main developer of robots.
That's right.
The U.S. military, through DARPA, is spending $127 billion to develop the robots of the future. You mentioned Futurama, the head on a stick, so to speak.
Yeah, Nixon,
that was, alive and speaking. Well, the Russians did that to dogs.
Wow.
30 or 40 years ago. So I'm afraid that we've done horrible things in a laboratory with robots. That's why I call this Robot Alchemy. Now, Robot Alchemy has many pictures in it, as you know, mm-hmm. Full color photos that have never been in a book ever in history. These photos, very difficult to get, but they paint a picture that's unbelievable. Androids, cyborgs. There are many people now involved in transhumanism, which is basically digital immortality. There are robots that are being developed as sex partners in Japan.
Wow.
Go buy your own robot model for 15 or 20,000. You can have a mate for life. I believe that within 10 years you will have robots that way. They're sort of they're difficult now. Their movements are a little bit jerky and so forth.
Right.
But they have eyes. They have what appears to be flesh. They move about. They walk. They can speak to you. They've one company, Hansen's Robotics from Dallas, Texas, has even developed a robot of Philip K. Dick, the famous science fiction writer. Of course, he's been dead since 1982, but he's alive in a laboratory at Hansen's.
Wow.
Hansen's calls robots genius machines. They don't use the term robot. So you can use any term you like. Androids are closer to human beings. A cyborg is basically a human being that becomes a robot.
That's right.
That has so many limbs and everything that are artificial, and artificial intelligence is added. There's now the capability to plant biochips or neural implants in the human brain.
That's right.
So you can control people this way. In fact, recently, DARPA was able to take, get this, Bruce, 2 rats, one in the United States in a laboratory and one in a laboratory in Brazil. They patched the 2, they put a neural implant, let's just call it a biochip, in each of the rats' brains. And then they patched the 2 together by the internet, and they're able to give orders to both rats simultaneously.
Wow, man. Oh, my God.
Now, what they're going to do, of course, is to tie together with biochips thousands of soldiers. And they're going to be doing all kinds, and they can talk to them simultaneously, tell them what to do. Of course, these soldiers will not be autonomous. They will not be independent. They're basically going to be robots themselves.
That's right.
This is the frightening part of this. This is absolutely real. You've heard of the Borg. The Borg is the connection of human beings, linking people's brains together, a neural network. So they have all these capabilities right now that they're working on in the laboratory. Some they've told us about, others they don't dare to talk to you about.
That's right.
And they've got nano robots as well, tiny robots. Some so small they're the size of bacteria that can be injected into the human system and control remotely, and they can go to your heart and stop your heart, go to your brain, cause the blood to stop flow there and kill you.
Wow.
So, somebody out there could be a walking time bomb, and any moment they could terminate that individual.
That's right,
by
Mr.
remote
Mars.
control.
And they actually have, the military industrial complex has hummingbirds or birds, robotic drone birds, don't they have that?
Yes, they do. I have pictures of robotic birds in my book, and it's interesting that they've taken a robot raven, for example, Robo Raven they call it, and he went into the sky, and the other birds were very confused as to what to do.
That's right.
Flocks of ravens. What should we do? To follow this bird or what?
Or attack it? You don't know, right?
Yeah, exactly. I have a lady, very intelligent lady, and she tells me that she and her husband were on their back porch, and a bumblebee came up. And she didn't really notice it. She has a lot of flowers in her backyard. And then suddenly it alighted from her about 20 feet and on the side of the house, and she looked at it, and she told her husband, "That's not a bumblebee. What is that?" And he went close to it, and it was some kind of a robotic bee.
Right.
And she said, "Look at that!" And she started to grab it, and it flew off. But she said it was totally different from a bee. And so she's convinced. She said, "Do they have robotic bees?" And I assured her that they are experimenting with such things. I have a picture of a robotic mosquito, and it lights on you, and it's able to actually inject poison or other substances into your bloodstream. So, I'm not trying to frighten people. I'm saying that they have these. Imagine being attacked by thousands, a swarm of robotic bees. This is a reality. But there's even the eater robot.
Mm-hmm.
The military has developed. The eater robot is very interesting. They first showed this and probably had a public exhibition for it. They were very proud of it. The U.S. Army and DARPA were very proud of this eater robot. That's Energetic Autonomous Robot, EATR. It's unique because the eater robot does not need fuel as such. It consumes biomass. That means it can eat the limbs off of trees, can eat leaves, grass, but it also can eat, for energy, human flesh.
Wow.
So the theory is go out on the battlefield, and first of all, they fight for you. These robots. You can place, weapons on them, and they fight for you. And you can go kill an army of 1,000, Afghanis or Iraqis or Yemenis or whatever you want.
Right.
Which is a terrible nature now. We have a imperialistic nation, the United States.
Marxist,
but once you kill them all, you just go eat them up. Just eat them all right there on the field. And can you imagine a robot eating these bodies?
Be incredibly frightening.
They talked about that. It gained some, attention in the press about these, like zombie robots or cannibal robots. And suddenly the DARPA said, we can't have this out there anymore, and they withdrew it, so you can't even hardly get a picture of it anymore. I had a lot of difficulty getting pictures. But these are, we have the drones, of course. A drone is basically a robot.
Mm-hmm.
It's controlled, but they're going to be making autonomous robots that are drones that just roam the skies looking for a victim or looking for, doing surveillance on all of us. So it's really a frightening world that we're beginning to live in now. And the thing is, they're using our money, our taxpayer dollars,
absolutely,
to build these horrible military craft and machines.
Right. I mean, this is definitely a frightening and real situation that's going on. I mean, you see 24/7 in Austin, Texas, where you're at. I mean, they have drones patrolling the skies. But I think it's a reality. This is going to be a harsh reality that by 2040 the streets will be patrolled by these Atlas type robots. I mean, this is like Terminator Part Deducts here, right, Tex?
Yes. The question is really, and I know this sounds like science fiction. It sounds insane, but I'm concerned that robots might actually 20 to 30 years from now literally replace human beings in the whole world scheme. I think this can get out of hand because something called singularity is being sought for. What is singularity? Back in 1993, a mathematician named Vernon Inge from California wrote a book about robots and other such things. And Mr. Inge speculated that a period of singularity would someday be reached, Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
What is singularity? Singularity is when robots and human beings are at parity. They're equal with each other in performance.
Right.
But robots and artificial intelligence has increased to the point where it is actually greater than human beings, or at least at parity with them. He said that would occur in about 10 years from now, 1993. It's now 2013. So he basically said around the period 2023,
mm-hmm.
you would be seeing singularity. Well, what's the problem with singularity? When robots get artificial intelligence 10 years from now, and they have artificial intelligence that makes them smarter, outthink us, outperform us, then their intelligence will be different than our kind of intelligence.
That's right.
And they will think for themselves. They will be problem solvers. And they'll think along paths that human beings cannot even imagine. And the question really is, at that point, well, let me just put it this way. Dr. Paul Sappho, of Stanford University is a roboticist and a very, very intelligent man. He began to think about this, and he said this. Now this is a quote in my book. He said, when robots gain artificial intelligence greater than human beings, and he predicted that would be in about 20 years, he said they will decide what to do for themselves. They could use human beings as pets, or they may decide to eat us as food.
Wow.
Now, that's, you say what, how can that be?
Uh-huh.
I mean, won't they always be controlled by human beings? No, they may go off on their own. Their brains are different, and they could actually create an intelligence different than ours that is excessive. It just continues to go and go and go. Our brains evidently are limited. We can only think to a certain power, but computers are far different.
Mm-hmm.
They say every 2 years computer power doubles. Well, that's cumulative. So it's an amazing thing. People used to talk about it in 20 or 30 years. Well, we're almost there now. But it's going to be possible that singularity will be reached. There's a recent breakthrough in quantum computers, and Ray Kurzweil, who is director of development at Google. Now imagine, Google's a search engine, but they are also an inventing house.
Right.
And Ray Kurzweil was at Harvard University. He's a very famous roboticist. He's written many books about this. But Ray Kurzweil is the director of development at Google, and he says that within 7 years we will reach singularity, parity. And that means, the question is, will they take over from men? I mean, it might be a surprise to human beings that these robots suddenly take control. But what I do know is that there will be, within 10 years, millions of robots. And I think at least 2/3 of the individuals listening to our voice today will discover that their jobs are gone. They've been taken by robotic creatures.
Wow. This is just like the rise of Skynet. We're witnessing it right now as we speak.